2022 Town of Littleton Board of Health meeting. We will start with our 7 p.m. public hearing on Grimes Lane, Lot 3B with Mark Slager of Allen Engineering. Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we hear you just fine. Do you have a plan you can share?
I will try, yes.
All right.
Okay, how's that? Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me see if I can make it a little bigger for you. All right, good evening. Mark Slager from Allen Engineering here on behalf of Grimes Land Investments. We've got a septic system design for a new construction home on Lot 3B, which is 27 Grimes Lane. Property is located on the south side of Grimes Lane. And there's a wetland on the east side of it. So we need to keep 50 feet away from the wetland. We have a wetland on the south side, so we have to keep 50 feet away from that with all work. So we're a little bit limited on space. And in order to accommodate the system, we need to provide a poly barrier and a retaining wall on the east side of the system, and also provide, let me blow that up a little bit. On the west side of the system, there's some grading that's required that gets a little close to the lot line. It's within 10 feet. So we're requesting the board grant those. And also for this particular one, we'd like to install a water supply well. There's a significant amount of ledge in the front of the property and also within Grimes Lane. The water main ends approximately 65, 75 feet to the west of the site in Grimes Lane. So the water main would have to get extended down to about the middle of the lot, which is about 100 feet. And then it would have to come in to the lot. And there's like we said, there's an awful lot of ledge in the that area. So we're trying to minimize the blasting and disturbance and impact to the abutters. We've got the well proposed at 10 feet off the right away for Grimes Lane, but on the other side of Grimes Lane, it's reserved open space, so it's not going to impact anybody's buildability or future development of any land. From the east-west perspective, we meet the 50-foot setback. We're well away from the septic system that's on Lot 4B, and also well away from the septic system that's on to the east of the lot, the abutter to the east. So we're requesting that the board grant the variance to allow the well within at approximately 10 feet from the street line. So with that, we'll turn it over to the board and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Let me go ahead and read Mr. Gariffi's notes on this. Lot 3B, Grimes Lane. I have reviewed the plans for a sewage disposal system to serve proposed new house at this address. I don't believe there would be an issue granting the variance for the placement of fill within 10 feet of the lot line and the approval to use a retaining wall as noted on the design. The area of the proposed leaching area is lower than the grade of the direct abutter, so the potential for surface runoff onto this abutting lot is minimal. The retaining is short, a good distance from the leaching area, and will help to minimize fill placed in the wetland buffer zone. This design requires a fill easement on an existing lot, and the owner needs to provide proof the easement is in place on the abutting lot prior to the issuance of a sewage disposal permit for this site. I can't recommend granting the variance for the installation of the proposed on-site well for the following reasons. Number one, public water is generally considered a safer water supply as it is monitored and treated as needed on a regular basis. Number two, the well is very close to the road and subject to possible salt contamination. Number three, the abutting house is served by town water, and the water line to this house appears to be about 60 to 65 feet away from the shared lot line. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open it up to board member comments and questions. We'll go in reverse alphabetical and start with Matt Wason. You're muted.
Yeah, I had to find the mute button. I wasn't expecting to go first. You did.
Sorry, I switched it up.
Yeah, so the grading easement, right above the tag lot 4B on the lower left part of the drawing. That's the easement that's within 10 feet that you're having to add the fill. Is that correct?
Yeah, that easement is, we get that easement because it's necessary for the reserve system if we were to build a conventional reserve system.
Okay.
It's obviously not likely to happen, but we figured we'd reserve a grading easement just in case. You know, when we, if there's a situation where we need to build a reserve, a conventional reserve.
And you have that paperwork all set with the abutter?
We do. I don't have it with me, unfortunately, but I can send a copy to the board and also to Mr. Graffy.
Matt, any other questions?
That was it.
Dan King.
A couple of quick questions. This is new construction, correct?
Yes.
If you'd gone to a slightly smaller house as opposed to 4-bedroom, could you accomplish a septic system that was fully in compliance with Title V without the variances?
A conventional one? No. Even if we went to a 3-bedroom, because we'd still have to grade. We'd still need the retaining wall. And we wouldn't be able to grade within 50 feet of the wetland. We would probably not be able to grade, keep the grading within 10 feet of the lot line as well. So as far as the conventional system, no, we would still need the variance for a conventional system. And also with this particular system, being a geomat, again, we would very likely need, I didn't look at a 3-bedroom design for a geomat, but I know, given the size of the system required for the conventional, I'm certain that we would still need the variances, even if it was a 3-bedroom house.
Okay. My other question is about that well with the 10-foot offset from basically the roadway. I understand the ledge is there, but certainly a well is never preferred over town water, certainly when it's within, it's less than 100 feet away. Is this doable with accessing the town water?
Yeah, it's doable. We would have to extend the water main. The water department would like to have it come down to approximately the middle of the house. That's the typical standard. There may be a possibility to cut that a little bit short, depending on, what we run into. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. We're just trying to minimize the amount of blasting and disturbance in the area and save a little bit of money for the builder.
It looks like this is the end of the existing road, is it?
No, it does continue down. This is the end of what's been improved. The edge of the improvement area ends right about here, which is Spruce Street, the new development on the north side of Grimes. So it's right here. So it's just beyond that. And then there's quite a bit of distance down to the east to the next home over on the other side of the wetland. But this is kind of a narrow section of road too, so it's not a lot of paved width that we need to that would be able to work in. And the water line is actually on the northern side of the street, so we would have to extend it down the northern side and could be very disruptive to the traffic.
There's nobody there.
Say, how much traffic is there through there?
I don't know what the traffic count is. There are, there's several houses off to the west, or the east rather, down this way. So it's not a tremendous amount of through traffic. There's actually a sign saying that there's, no trucks allowed because there's no turnaround at the end. But again, there's, in consideration of the impact on the abutters, we were thinking that we, minimize the work within Grimes Lane, because from here down, it's a dead end. There's no other way out.
All right, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Kevin Davis.
So I'm very familiar with this area of town. This is right over by the railroad tracks that are right there near Route 2 and all that kind of street. It's right near the Foster Street thing. There's practically no traffic whatsoever that goes back here. The only thing that goes back here are the residential areas. So there's nothing that's back here. The request, my definition of open space is that somebody owns that lot, or is that open space granted to the town?
It's owned by the town of Littleton.
Okay. I don't support the well being there at all. I have a real problem with it. Again, it makes no sense to me to have a well there, especially when the water is right in front, 60 feet away from the house. They can pull that across. In several other developments in town, they had to blast to put in infrastructure, and it's a minor inconvenience for a few times. And then you basically make sure you take surveys of the houses around. We had houses across the street from me that they blasted for a solid 2 months to create a boat to put 3 houses in. So that's just not there. The geomat, I looked at also the plans for the traditional one. And so other than the retaining wall, what other negative things are versus the geomat?
I'm not sure what you mean by negative things.
Other than having to get a retaining wall and having to get the easement, there's what's the geomat over under versus the traditional?
Well, the traditional, we would still need to have the grading easement, the retaining wall, and the poly liner. So the geomat's actually a smaller footprint and doesn't require as much fill. So if we went with a conventional, the retaining wall would be longer and taller.
And it looks like there's still a retaining wall on there that you're proposing.
Yes, there is.
Is there a liner that's behind it?
The liner is actually closer to the system at the top of the slope.
Okay. Because it's a geomat, would we want to put a restriction in the deed to make sure nothing gets put over top of this?
We certainly could do that. All of the other systems along this road are geomat systems. And there's notes on the plan that limit what can be done within, there's no plantings or trees or anything or impervious within 5 feet of the system. That's going to be in the disclosure that's given to the homeowner.
I would put a note on the deed. What do you guys think of that?
I think 5 feet, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, certainly something should run with the property, just stating that, that the sewage disposal system on site, is not to be covered with anything but, grass or vegetative.
DEP does have a standard document that used to be required for IA systems that goes in and gets recorded with the deed. We could certainly add that.
Okay. Gino, I don't think you heard most of the presentation by Mark here, but I'll go ahead and just give my comments. I'm okay with the grading easement as long as you have your paperwork in order with the abutter. Okay with the wall and the barrier. I can't get behind the well, and I think it's in the best interest of public health to tie into town water here. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion if anyone has one.
I make a motion for continuance.
I second.
Can I ask something?
Sure.
What would the continuance be for?
So you can address the well and putting in town water.
Could we,
Well, I think that's what the motion would call out.
could we just have a denial of the variance for the well, and that would force me to put the town water in? That way we don't have to come back to another hearing. We'll
You
just,
can move forward, right?
yeah.
Well, we haven't seen a plan then for where that is. Or do we need to see that?
I could revise the plan and send it to Mr. Garaffi, I don't think it would need any more board action at that point.
Fair enough. All right, so then friendly amendment. I make a motion that we accept the geomat and polyliner and retaining wall, but disapprove the variance for the well.
I second.
And just to note, also add in the approval of the grading easement with the abutters agreement on paper.
So noted.
We have a motion and a second. We'll take a roll call vote. Matt Wason,
Matt Wason, yes.
Dan Kane,
And Kane, yes, to the motion for the septic easement. We did still actually have a motion and second on the floor prior to this motion to continue the hearing.
I'll
So
withdraw that motion.
it's already seconded.
so we have to vote. So we'll vote on that.
Yep.
Okay. So we will take a roll call vote on the motion to continue. Kevin Baker, no. Matt Wason,
Matt Wason, no.
Kevin Davis,
No.
Dan Kane,
Dan Kane, no.
Gino Fratelloni.
No,
Okay, Mr. Davis, could you please repeat your motion?
Make a motion that we accept the geomat and retaining wall and proposing grading easement, but deny the variance for the well.
And also
Second.
grant variance for the retaining wall.
I thought I said that. Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Matt Wason,
Matt Wason, yes.
Dan Kane,
Dan Kane, yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
yes.
Kevin Davis,
Kevin Davis, yes.
and Kevin Baker votes yes. And next we will keep Mr. Slager?
Yes.
Keep Mr. Slager with us, and we will discuss lot 5A, Grimes Lane.
Let me open that drawing so we can share the screen. All right.
Mr. Slager, at this point, are you withdrawing your request for the private well on this?
Withdrawing the request.
Oh, is this an abutting lot? Or no?
This is a different lot. This was one lot over. The other lot was 3B, which was on the other side. This
Can you
is lot
zoom out and
5.
show us the locus on that?
Okay. So this is 5A that we're doing now.
Uh-huh.
4B is here.
Okay,
3B was here.
okay. Thank you.
This one, we're not requesting a variance for the well. We're proposing town water
Okay,
on this one. The only thing we're requesting on this is grading within 10 feet of a lot line. We need to do that because of the encroachment or the 50-foot no disturb zone for the Conservation Commission. There's a grading easement in place as well, which would be for a conventional system. So this one's a little bit easier than the other one. No retaining wall required, no polyliner required for the geomat system, just a little grading within 10 feet. I also want to point out that the adjacent lot was developed by the same developer. So he owns all of the lots along this section of Grimes Lane. So the houses were kind of built in at the same time. We just had a little delay in getting passing perk tests on this lot due to groundwater last year. But other than that, there's you know, a grading easement in place. I'll forward the paperwork to your office and also to Mr. Garaffi. And you know, and all the documentation will be in place.
These
And I
houses
would
are
suspect, similar to the other lot, I would suspect the board would like a deed notification in place that this is a geomat system. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
let me go ahead and read Jim Gareffi's notes on this, lot 5A, Grimes Lane. I have reviewed the plans for a sewage disposal system to serve proposed new house at this address. I don't believe there would be an issue granting the variance for the placement of fill within 10 feet of the lot line. The area of the proposed leaching area is lower than the grade of the direct abutter, so the potential for surface runoff on this abutting lot is minimal. This design requires a fill easement on an existing lot, and the owner needs to provide proof the easement is in place on the abutting lot prior to the issuance of a sewage disposal permit for this site. So we will take some board member comments and questions. Matt Wason.
I guess my only question is the leach field that far south on the property for a specific reason?
Yeah, we had some ledge, shallow bedrock up in this area. So we're trying to keep as far away from that. We had good testing in this location, but when we were out in the field, Mr. Garaffi recommended that we put the system down in this location because it's a little bit lower and just keeps us further away from any of the ledge.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Dan Kane.
And we already discussed to make sure we have documentation of the grading easement for lot 4B.
Yes.
I don't think I have any other questions.
Gino Fratelloni.
No question.
Kevin Davis. One question.
You would think after 2 years, I would figure out how to hit the mute button. The dash line that's running through the property and through the middle of the house, is that the 50-foot set? Is that the 50-foot setback from conservation? Is that what that is?
No, the long dash line is the 100 foot. The short dash line up to the
Got
left is 50.
I got it. Okay. I was reading that backwards. I have no further questions.
I have no questions. We'll entertain a motion.
Okay, nobody wants to put the motion on. Okay, I'll make a motion to proceed.
To proceed with,
Whatever the gentleman made that proposal for.
okay, so why don't I just clarify?
Will
We
allow the use of 40 mil HDPE liner to prevent the breakout grading from extending into the NDZ, and waiver regulation from regulation number 27 to fill within 10 feet of the lot line.
so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Matt Wason,
Matt Wason, yes.
Dan Kane,
Dan Kane, yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Yes, Gino Farrell, yes.
Kevin Davis,
Kevin Davis, yes.
and Kevin Baker votes yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Slager. Have a great night, and just make sure
Okay.
Jim gets all the
Good
paperwork.
luck.
Thank you very much.
You don't have to come back.
So next we have 710, run a little late, public hearing, 47 Taylor Street with Kevin Ritchie of Civil Solutions. Let's see if we can get Kevin in here. He's on his way.
I realized that after the fact, we didn't ask for butters for either of those hearings. I did not see any hands up, but we also didn't ask.
I guess we got to do better this time.
Noted. There he is.
Mhm.
Kevin, can you just unmute yourself, please?
Hey,
How are you?
good. How's it going?
It's going great.
You take it you can hear me.
We can hear you now.
Let's see if I can share my screen. And
Got it.
see that now.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm Kevin Ritchie. I'm here on behalf of Jim Barkovitz. He's the owner of 47 Taylor Street. We've been here before. This plan was approved, I believe, 3 years ago. The permit expired this past summer. So we are back to get the permit renewed. And Jim asked that we come back in and request the variances. So as you can see, the Taylor Street, got a 3-bedroom house here. There's an extensive wetland runs along Taylor Street. Kind of comes across the back of the lot. Here's the abutter here is house number 51. We've got the lot line right down here. So you can see the house here at 51 is only 5 feet off the lot line. The usable area, we got a little bit of room in the backyard, except we're kind of hugging the wetlands. Then over here on the side, there's an existing retaining wall here. So there's a minimal amount of room in the side yard, and then it drops down, steep slope down to the wetlands, and basically this whole side of the yard is wet. There's an existing cesspool here in the backyard. So we're proposing to eliminate the cesspool. There's another little cesspool here, probably for the laundry. But we're looking to eliminate the cesspool, install a jet for the advanced treatment, come around, pump to a pump chamber, and then up the hill into the driveway. We're proposing, again, so we're using a jet, and it'll be a pressure dose stone bed. The system, it does have a poly liner around basically 3 sides. Again, because we're so close to the foundation, we're 10 feet off of the foundation for the existing property, and the system's 10 feet off the foundation for the abutter. So the first variance is we're asking to reduce the offset from the leaching area to the property line from 10 feet to 5 feet. So we've got the system here, it's basically 5 feet off the lot line. So that's the first variance we're asking for, to reduce it from 10 feet to 5 feet. Second variance is we're asking to reduce the offset from the leaching area to a foundation from 20 feet to 10 feet. So we've got 10-foot separation from the edge of the leaching area to the foundation here at number 47. And then the same, we've got 10 feet from the edge of the leaching area to the abutter at number 51. And then the third variance we're asking for is to reduce the offset from the septic tank or the jet tank to a wetland. So we're looking to reduce that from 25 feet to 19 feet. So again, it's an extremely tight lot. It is served by town water. It does have wetlands across the back, and the neighboring house is extremely close to the lot, and we've got a very limited amount of area to work with. And again, and the variances were approved by the board 3 years ago. With that, I'll entertain any.
Let me go ahead and first read Jim's comments on 47 Taylor Street. 47 Taylor Street, the system for this site has failed. The site has a number of restrictions that make it impossible to design a system in full compliance with your regulations and Title V. Lot size, wetlands, lot geometry, long, narrow, long along wetlands, lot along wetlands. Soil testing was conducted, sandy soil, and because of the lot topography, the applicant can meet the required groundwater offset. Because the usable lot area is extremely small, the applicant needs offset reductions to the property lines, cellar walls, applicant and neighbor, and wetlands for the septic tank. The area for a leaching area is very limited. The designer has proposed the use of a treatment tank, jet, to provide cleaner effluent and a smaller leaching area for discharge. This proposal represents the best possible replacement system, short of a tight tank, as the sewage will be treated before discharge. The applicant will be required to have an operation and maintenance contract for the system, and there will be a poly barrier around the leaching area to minimize the migration of sewage to the foundations. First, I'd like to ask if there are any abutters here, specifically number 51 Taylor Street. Did you notify all the abutters, Kevin?
Did notify the abutter.
Okay.
I can send a green card in if you'd like, or
Yeah, thanks.
I wasn't sure who to send it to.
Yeah, you can send it or drop it off with Brenda.
Okay.
So we'll go around for board member comments and questions. We will start with Kevin Davis this time.
Still digesting this. This is a very the abutter. You said they already got this approved 3 years ago, and they haven't acted on it, and so we've had a failing system for 3 years.
Yes, I believe there was a husband and wife couple. The wife passed away, so I think things kind of blowed up for.
Okay. Same comment as the previous person, or previous ones, because this is a geo system that's going to be close to the surface. Yes, we're going to be one. No, it's a jet system.
So no, yeah, this is not a geomat. This is a stone bed.
Okay.
But it does have the jet, and the jet will require a deed notice.
Okay.
And as well as an operation and maintenance agreement.
Right. I know we also talk about, does this require nothing on the surface, or is this one okay from, different from a mat system?
Yeah, so this one is basically designed for traffic, whereas the geomats should have no traffic on them.
Got it. Oh, I see. It's 1/4 inch pipe or 4-inch pipe. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the cross section.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
My
So
fault.
this one's bedded in stone, it's heavy walled pipe, it's
Pressure dosed. Right. I have no further questions.
Gino Fratelloni.
It seems that I agree with my friend there.
Dan Kane.
So he wants,
Sorry, go ahead, Gino. Thought you were finished.
the only problem he wants is that to see if we can give him a variance from the 10 feet to 5 feet. Seem like the lot is kind of a tight for the system and everything. Let's see what we can do to help him out.
Dan Kane.
It's an incredibly challenging lot, but that's certainly an improvement from both the failing system and the existing, cesspool structure. Short of a tight tank, this is, a pretty effective solution. So I have no questions.
Matt Wason.
I concur. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for doing a good job of trying to make something that works out that meets as many of the rules as possible. So no question.
This just goes to show you can fit 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound. I have no questions. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make. Okay, I'll make a motion that we grant a reduction for offset the leaching area to a property line from 10 feet to 5 feet a decrease, a variance from the requirement to offset from the foundation wall from 20 feet to 10 feet, and requisite offset from a septic tank to wetlands from 25 feet to 19 feet as requested.
I second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Matt Wason,
Matt Wason, yes.
Dan Kane,
Dan Kane, yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Gino Ferroni, yes.
Kevin Davis,
Yes. Kevin Davis, yes.
and Kevin Baker votes yes. Thank you, Kevin. Just make sure you bring those green cards in. That abutter is super close. I can't believe it. And you're with us for the next one, right?
Correct.
Okay. And public hearing for 3 George Street with Kevin Ritchie of Civil Solutions.
See resolution, Kevin.
Can you see that screen now?
Yes.
So this is 3 George Street. Right, 3 George Street, right in the corner of Goldsmith and George. The house sits here kind of in the middle of the lot. It's been recently sold at a failed Title V inspection. We've designed a new septic system, putting in a new 2-compartment tank, pump chamber, and a geomat. So this is the geomat, same as Mark had on the other 2. Groundwater on the site was at 3 feet. So constraints there with the groundwater. That is served by town water. We've got the property line along the back and on the side. So this one here, we are using the geomat. It's for remedial use. It's approved for reduction in the groundwater. So we are looking for the board's approval to use the geomat with 2-foot groundwater offset. We're also looking for a variance from Littleton's Regulation 27 for the fill within 10 feet of the lot line. So the system is being elevated roughly 6 inches. It's coming up out of the ground. So it's coming up a 1/2 foot. And that fill for the cover material will be about 9 feet of the lot line, either both back and here on the side. Water was relatively high, it was at 3 feet. We were unable to run a perk test, so we're asking to be allowed sieve analysis. And then the septic tanks, we're required to have a 12-inch separation between the inlets and outlets of the tanks in the groundwater. In the 12, got about 9 or 10 inches. The tanks are both monolithic, so there'll be no seam, and the tanks will be ordered rubber boots to seal up well. Again, we're using the geomat, asking for approval in the groundwater offset, fill within 10 feet of the lot line for both the rear of the property and the side. We're asking from 9 feet off the lot lines. We're asking to use sieve analysis, and then the tank. Lots of the water.
Did you notify abutters on this?
We can send those cards as well.
Okay. I'll go ahead and read Jim's comments on this, and then we'll see if there are any abutters here. 3 George Street. The existing septic system for this house is in the seasonal high water table and considered in failure. Soil testing was conducted, and it was determined the site has a seasonal high water table of 32 to 36 inches below grade. And because of the wet soil, a perk test could not be conducted. A sieve analysis was conducted, and an estimated perk rate is 30 minutes an inch for the site. The site constraints, small lot, seasonal high water table, and high perk rate would make it extremely difficult to design a sewage disposal system in full compliance with Title V and your regulations. The requested relief will allow a system to be installed while minimizing the changes to the surface grading and also get the leaching area out of the water table. Given the site
Ooh.
conditions, including the fact the neighborhood is served by town water, I believe this is a reasonable solution for the site. If there are any abutters here, please raise your hand to comment now. There are no, oh. Nope. Oh, yep, yeah. Jean, I'm going to promote you. Could you please just state your name and your address? Hi, Jean.
Hi, Jean Donnelly from 2 George, across the street. My question, because I don't understand all of this with the grading and all, but it is a high water table, and we've had several water main breaks in front of my house, in front of his house in the past several years. I think there's been 3 in the past 5 years, something like that. With the grade being different, is the topiary going to change that the water's going to kind of drift into my yard now?
Yeah,
Kevin,
yeah.
you wanna
So
answer?
the system's coming up roughly 6 inches. The landscaping will not change. It'll still all be grassed, and it should not change. It's not going to change the direction of the water flow now.
I think you'll get a little less water because some of it's going to go off the back now.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. I'll go ahead and are there any other abutters present? Please raise your hand. Board member comments. We can start with Kevin Davis.
Good evening. Thank you for addressing this problem. Did you guys look at possibly raising it up any farther to try to get as far away from the groundwater as possible?
No, so we went with the geomat just because of the low profile to try to keep the height of the system down. I mean, lots of times we go with the Presby again for the same reason. It's a reduction in the groundwater, but the Presby would just pick it up that much higher. So no, we did not just. I mean, obviously we've got grading within the 10 feet. As we pick it up, we'd probably either
6
a wall.
inches. Yeah, the 6 inches. There'll be a wall, you said?
I would, yes, it would be, depending on what kind of system we went with. The big benefit of the geomat is the low profile and the allowable reduction in groundwater.
So because you went with the geomat, you're not going to need a wall and we're not going to need to raise it that much, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Geomat, can we get something into the...
So yes, there will be a deed notice as well for this geomat.
Yeah.
So anytime, so the geomat here, it's being used for remedial use. And as part of that requirement, it does require a deed notice.
Yep. And there are no other, it's not a pressurized system, it's a geomat.
It is, so it is pressurized, it's pressure dosed.
Oh, it is. Okay, which means
no,
we need to have some sort of agreement then?
No, so this one, it's got the flow to the septic tank and then into a pump chamber. And the pump chamber will then basically dose each of the lines in the geomat.
He's referring to an operations and maintenance agreement.
Oh, okay. No, there's no operation and maintenance agreement required on this one.
Educate me really quickly, why?
Sure. So the previous one with the jet was basically, I would say, like an aeration chamber, a little miniature treatment plant.
Yep.
As approval for that.
That's doing the injection, right? This one doesn't have an injector in it. Got it.
It's more the treatment.
Yeah. Okay.
So the other one has the mechanical blower and whatnot, whereas this one's a little more passive.
But this will have a pump alarm on the interior.
Yes.
Okay, and then one final, and you said these are specialized tanks, or they're not standard concrete tanks. They're
no, so they are standard concrete, but they're monolithic. So
Oh,
rather than being two halves, there'll be one hole with a top, just top.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Gino Fratelloni,
No problem.
Dan King,
Thank you.
No questions at this time.
Matt Wason.
My only question is where it doesn't appear to be on the drawing as to where you're intending to put the fill. Is it just within the field, or
Yes.
I can't tell where the 10 feet ends?
So it's a very minimal amount. The only change in so his contour 98 here. And his contour 98 here across the back. I believe this here is like 98.5 plus or minus. I think this was like 98.6 here on the lot line, 98.4 here in the lot corner. So it's just the material over the top of it, just to make sure it's got the minimal amount of cover over the top.
Okay, thank you.
I have no questions. Nice job. We'll take a motion if anyone's got one.
I'll make a motion that we grant the following waivers. To allow the use of a geomat system and a decrease of groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet. Allow fill within 10 feet of a property line. Allow a sieve analysis in place of a perk test, and allow for less than a 12-inch separation between the inlet and outlet of the tanks and the high groundwater mark, recognizing that the tanks will be sealed with rubber roots and risers.
Second that.
Second.
Roll call vote. Matt Wason,
Matt Wason, yes.
Dan King,
Dan Kane, yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Gino Ferraro, yes.
Kevin Davis,
Kevin Davis, yes.
and Kevin Baker votes yes. Thanks, Kevin. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a nice night as well.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, next we have our 7:30 public hearing, 7 Snow Drive with Chris Stoddard of Stoddard Engineering. Go ahead and promote Chris now. And he should be on his way.
All right. Howdy. Can you hear me?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, we hear you.
Good. All right. Let me share my screen. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So what we're here for today is a septic system replacement at 7 Snow Drive. Existing septic, it's too close. There we go. Snow Drive's up here. The existing system was actually just a cesspool in the middle of the backyard. So we did some soil testing. There was quite a bit of fill, about 38 inches of fill out here. So once we got down to virgin ground, it was fairly saturated. So we were not able to run a perk test, but we meet all other offsets. We have more than 10 feet to the property lines. We are proposing a Presby system. It does have to be a pump system because of the basement. We are not able to raise the grading, or excuse me, raise the pipe in the house to get gravity. So we are having to run a pump system. Everything seemed, I think it was a pretty simple system. We couldn't go anywhere in the front yard. We tried to get farther away from the wetlands, but water lines up there. There's a large tree in the middle of the front yard. So this was kind of the best location we felt that we could get. So we are requesting the use of the sieve analysis in place of the perk test. And we are requesting the reduction in groundwater offset from 5 feet down to 3 feet. If we can't get the groundwater offset, we will have to actually end up grading within 10 feet. So we felt that this made more sense than having to grade onto the neighbor's property. Plus the backyard, would have ended up requiring a retaining near the house, and that didn't seem practical. I can answer any questions that you guys have.
What did the sieve come back as?
Sand.
Minutes per inch? How many?
So it defaulted to 5 minutes an inch because it had like 92% sand, I think.
So that's why you're going for the 3 foot instead of the 2 foot.
Correct. Yeah. So I couldn't get down to 2 feet because if we were able to perk, it would have been 2 minutes an inch material.
Do they all perk it at? Oh, you think it would have been 2 minutes?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because it had so much sand in it. I'm trying to look for
I'll go ahead and read Jim's notes for this. 7 Snow Drive, the existing septic system for this site is a cesspool, and based on the results of soil testing was determined to be in failure. Soil testing revealed sandy soils, but a seasonal high water table of about 38 inches. Due to the water table, a perk test could not be conducted, and the perk rate was determined by a sieve analysis. The site has the following constraints for the installation of a fully compliant system: flat lot, wetlands, and seasonal high water table. The requested relief to reduce the groundwater offset by 2 feet will help minimize the change in the surface grading and potential for surface water runoff to the house and fill going into the wetlands buffer zone. The neighborhood is served by town water, and the proposed design provides for a system which is far more protective of public health.
So
Did you have to notify abutters on this, Chris?
No, because we didn't request any variances or local upgrades to abutting properties. We didn't have to notify anybody.
Are there any abutters here that'd like to speak? Raise your hand now. No hands. We'll go.
So I did pull the soil sieve analysis. It was 94% sand. So over 87%, it defaults down to a 5 minute loading rate.
Okay.
So, or it goes to 0.74 loading rate, which is the equivalent of 2 minutes to 5 minutes per grade.
We will take some board member comments. We'll start with Kevin Davis.
I have no questions.
Gino Fredoloni. I think he might be frozen. Dan Kane.
Dan Kane, no questions.
Matt Wason.
No questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions either. Feel like you did the best you could with this.
Thank you.
We'll entertain a motion. Danny, you do such a nice job.
I'd be happy to take a motion to allow the use of a sieve analysis in lieu of a perk test and the reduction of groundwater offset from 4 feet to 3 feet, correct?
5 feet to 3
Check me
feet.
on that one. 3 feet.
5 feet to 3 feet. Yeah.
5 feet to 3 feet. Sorry, thank you.
I second.
Matt Wason seconds. We'll take a roll call vote. Kevin Davis.
Kevin Davis, yes.
Dan Kane.
Dan Kane, yes.
Matt Wason.
Matt Wason, yes.
And Kevin Baker votes yes. Thanks, Chris. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Thanks.
So we'll move on to our 740 discussion with 550 Newtown Road. I'm not sure exactly who will be joining us for this. Please raise your hand. Oh, Andrew O'Neill. Okay. And Aaron Mackey. Promoting both of you. No.
Where's this in the packet?
It should be at the very end.
Very end. Okay.
This was like a last minute conversation that Jim had. Or maybe all we have are Jim's comments on this, and it's just a discussion.
Got it.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi, can you fill us in what's going on?
Sure. My name is Andrew O'Neill. I'm a project manager for Storage Rentals of America. Also on the call is Aaron Mackey, our civil engineer with Kimley Horn. And we're calling about our property, 550 Newtown Road, that we acquired back in December of 2021. If I can just take a few minutes and just give you a quick intro. Storage Rentals of America owns over 300 properties across the country. We're rapidly growing. We purchased this property in December of 2021. We really love the location. It does very well for us. Since acquiring this property in December, we've performed a numerous amount of enhancements to the property. We've been cleaning up the site, getting rid of all the old RVs and boats and cars that have been sitting there for forever. We eliminated a bunch of portable storage units, and we have a conditional permit approved for some exterior enhancements for security upgrades and an office remodel for the property. In addition to that, we have a phase 2 expansion plan to add a building in the back, which we've had a pre-app meeting with the planning board a couple of months ago. Just wanted to make a note that during the course of our closing with this property, we were unaware of the failed septic system. It was brought to our attention probably a couple of months after third party. I guess the designer had spoken to our district manager and told him about the septic issue. As soon as we caught wind, we had sent this over to Kimley Horn, had them to do the investigation for the failed septic. They found the plans that were submitted to the town. It was an older set, but they did find the set of plans. We did identify this and talk with the planning department as we've been working through our design and entitlement phases for phase 2. So one of the reasons why we're here tonight is to formally request an extension of the septic repairs to allow us to continue down the design path and entitlement process with the town for our phase 2 building. We are afraid that we would be putting the cart before the horse if we would replace the septic system now, because we're worried about what would happen to the septic system if we brought in heavy machinery for all the site work, as well as, we're working through this design with the town. So we're worried that there might be some minor tweaks to the plan that's currently approved for the new septic system. I have Aaron here with Kimley Horn. He has the concept plan up to kind of show you what we're proposing and working through the planning department with. Our formal request is to have an 18-month extension for the septic system. At this point, I'd like to turn it over for any questions or comments. Thank you.
When was your septic system approved?
I know that the Title V failed back in 2020.
They brought a plan before us, and I believe it was approved.
There was a plan that was submitted by the previous owner,
yep.
Which I believe was approved. After talking to Jim on Friday, he said that there was some revisions that came in April of 2022, which we were surprised to hear because we don't even know who's designing this thing still, because we did not hire them.
All right, let me go ahead and just read our health agent, Jim Griffey's notes on this property. 550 Newtown Road, a Title V inspection was conducted on the septic system serving this lot as required by Title V in conjunction with the division of this lot to create a new building lot. The report indicated the system was in failure. The leaching area was found to be in the seasonal high water table based on the inspection dated March 25th, 2022. Title V requires the upgrade of a failed system within 2 years of discovery, unless the Board of Health sets a shorter time frame. The 2 years for this site was up on March 26, 2022. A design for a new system was submitted, and the Board of Health allowed the use of a retaining wall and granted a variance for the placement of fill within 10 feet of the lot line. The property was acquired by a new owner who applied for a building permit to make modifications to the building. I informed the new owner of the requirements to replace the failed septic system. I have met with the new owners, and they are looking to conduct other work on the site which might impact the approved septic system design. They're still working on the site plan, and they've had some conversations with the planning department. Any proposed additional uses to the site should be reviewed by the Board of Health to ensure they are in compliance with the proposed replacement septic system design. I explained to the owner they would need to speak with the board about extending the timeline for the upgrade of the failed system on the site. In accordance with Title V, the board can take the following actions. A, require the immediate replacement of the system. B, enter into an enforceable agreement with the owner for an extension of the deadline to replace the failed system for a timeline which the board deems appropriate based on the owner's plans. If the board determines they would enter into an enforceable agreement, it should include specific deadline for the system replacement and conditions to ensure the existing system is maintained in a manner which will minimize threat to public health until the system is replaced. Such conditions could include regular increased pumping of the existing septic tanks, inspection of the leaching area to ensure the sewage isn't discharging to the ground, If regular maintenance is not adequate to provide safe operation, the septic tanks could be converted to tight tanks and pumped frequently. So we are looking at the existing building on the top with a proposed building on the bottom, with the blue lines representing the septic system that was already approved. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah, this is Aaron Mackey with Kimley Horn. We've been working with Storage Rentals of America and Andrew's team on this site for about 4 months now. So we've gone through due diligence phase and had the pre-app with the planning board. And
so, excuse me for a second. What was the flow that was approved?
okay, yeah, the flow that was approved was 966 gallons per day, which had 12,874 square feet of office. Now, they're operating a storage facility, and this addition will be completely storage with no office space.
How many square footage? How many square feet?
We're looking at right now, I mean, this is all subject to change. It'd be massaged, but we have a footprint here of around 24,000 square feet in a 3-story product.
So you're looking at triple the size of the building.
That's right, but
Okay.
but storage flow, we don't anticipate any increase of flow to the system as there's going to be no office space.
What does Title V say for flow, storage space versus office space? Educate me.
I don't believe there's flow for storage facility. There's only flow required for office space.
Okay.
Because there's going to be no occupants here. There's no bathroom. There's no office. So there's no flow requirement for.
So it's
the
not
storage
even
facility.
tied into the septic.
No, this building won't have a connection required. We just are going to have to pick up the existing laterals that come out of this building. And, we kind of roughed in orange here what we think we might do, but this area is going to be regraded, and we're going to have catch basins in here with new low points. So again, this in here is all kind of subject to change as we work through our site plan review process with the planning board.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Kevin Davis real quick. Sorry, Kevin Baker.
Go ahead.
You're looking at injecting water runoff into the septic? Is that what?
No, sorry. I mean, this blue, I tried to add some colors because there's a lot going on here, but so the blue lines here was the previously approved plans. And as you can see, they're in conflict with what we're trying to do for the improvements on the site and add additional storage. So the septic system is just going to be relocated and constructed here and take flow from the existing building. However, the place where we can situate this building is on top of the contributing lines here that were previously approved. And also, if we install this now, I mean, to construct this building, our laydown area, our stockpile is going to be probably in this corner. Construction entrance here. So, we wouldn't want to put this in now, and we go to build this thing in a year and a half, and it's going to get destroyed. So
What's your next meeting with planning? When is it?
So we had pre-app. We're getting close to a formal submission to planning board. So I would say within a couple months, month and a half, we'll be in front of them.
I would also just like to note as well that we have one part-time employee in in this building right now, and they're the only ones that have access to the bathroom. There's nobody up in that 3rd floor office space that utilizes a restroom. It's just pretty much empty space right now. So the outflow that's coming out of this building currently is extremely minimal.
Where's the existing septic?
It's gone. I don't think you go to find it.
Yeah, sorry, it's in gray here. It's down at the bottom of the hill here.
Let's go around the board for questions. Matt Wason.
That was one of my questions. Where the existing one? I guess noting that this is a discussion, we're not going to make a decision on it, but I would ask, understanding right that you just said I want 18 months to fix it. Do you have an idea of what your plan would be that you would propose or ask for approval of during that 18 months?
Yeah, our plan is to maintain this location. We have, working soil data and a previously approved system for similar flows that we're going to have for the building. So we're going to try to keep this previous design as much intact as possible. Pending.
I'm not asking about design. I'm asking about the functioning system for 18 months when you don't have a new septic system.
In the meantime,
Right. You said you want 18 months before you have to build the new septic system. So what is your plan or proposal for how you are going to maintain your wastewater during that 18 months?
Well, one proposal is that since we only have one part-time property manager on site in this facility, we could padlock all the restrooms and put a porta-john outside on the back of the property somewhere, just so that our one part-time employee has, somewhere to use the bathroom. I mean, that could help with, that would be one solution to minimize any type of discharge into the older system that's failed.
Thank you for that idea. That's kind of exactly what I'm getting at. 18 months is a long time. So if you intended to have employee changes during that time, obviously the construction crews are going to probably bring in additional porta potties. So I would just want to make sure we had a plan in place here, say that if you're asking for, we would like this extension, here is what we are going to do in the meantime. I would feel very comfortable with something like that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Kane.
I have a couple questions and a little bit of timeline question. So looks like Jim may mistaken his dates, but it looks like 3/25/20, the system failed. It was brought before us August 25th of 21 for the approved plan, and it was approved as presented. You purchased the property, your company purchased the property in December. Now, certainly purchasing the property, you would have to know the status of the septic system at that time. Did you, it's a purchase and a Title V requirement so I guess I'm trying to figure out, one, how you purchase property without having a Title V assessment at the time of purchase.
Right. So I had circled back. I'm not part of that part of the process with the company. Our acquisitions team, was mainly the ones who handled all that information. And I did circle back with them. I did go through the file with all the notes, and nowhere did I see anything that was on file that talked about a failed septic system. I could go back and have somebody from my acquisitions team, get some more data. But when we did have the discussion, and I did sit down with the CFO, who was also involved with this process, everybody kind of had no idea that there was a failed septic system here.
That would normally be part of the process, though, identifying a Title V compliance at time of purchase.
Right, and typically they do. We do all of our diligence on all of our properties. I don't know how this got missed.
Okay, so what maintenance have you been doing since you purchased the property in December? And a failing system, there should have been a compliance plan until the system was repaired. Have you been doing anything to make sure that the failing system remains as close to compliance as possible since that date?
Yeah, so since we took the property over in December, that one property, the property manager that was with the old owner of this property had quit because he didn't want to, he didn't want to work for us. So the property was pretty much unmanned for most of the time up until about a month ago. So where we hired a part-time property manager, we had a district manager that just occasionally drove by here just to check up on our property. There's nobody up in the offices up on the third floor. So there's been very minimal, if none, of discharge into the system since we've acquired the property.
New construction, so there's no water going into the new building?
There is no need for water into the new building. We're not adding an office or a restroom, not even a janitor's closet.
The big space not to be able to wash the floors.
Yeah, it's polished concrete, and we got the other building fully functional, and literally like 5 feet away where you see those parking spaces, there's another door that gets us right into like our service area with like hose bibs and water access. So we're just trying to minimize the infrastructure that we're going to into this new building.
I assume it's going to be sprinklered, correct?
It's going to be fully sprinklered, yes.
So there will be water going into the building.
There'll be water going in for the fire protection system, yes.
Okay, so there's water in the building. Great. I would say certainly that office space currently in the existing building is empty. I would certainly recommend that remains unoccupied and unrented until the new septic system is in place and approved.
Agreed.
All right. I don't have any further questions. Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin Davis?
What time of day does your part-time employee work at the facility?
Our office hours are 9:30 to 6:30. He does not, and then we're closed on Wednesdays and Sundays. So he's in within those time. I don't know every day that he works because I haven't had that discussion with the district manager. But he is in there during the daytime. Between those hours. When I went for a site visit about 2 weeks ago there, he was popping in and out, maybe an hour here, hour there. He wasn't really staying there all day. It's a very, very quiet site. There's not a lot of customer interaction here. Most people just come in, they pick up something, they drop off something, and then they leave. There's really no need to keep somebody there all day.
Yeah. So eating of meals there, is there a kitchen on the facility?
No, there's not.
Okay. So there's no requirement for hand washing or anything like that before a meal or anything like that?
Nope, and there's no employee sinks. It's just the one active restroom that they had kept open. That had a single sink in the toilet. That's it.
Okay.
Well, I think all the questions have been answered. The question is, how long is it really going to take for you guys to get this septic system in? Realistically, getting an approval from the planning board, and then making sure it's not going to be in the way of your construction, so you don't ruin it. I think 12 months with a potential extension for 6, if things don't go as they could, might be appropriate. And in the meantime, lock the bathroom and place a porta potty outside for your part-time employee.
That sounds great. We appreciate that. Thank you.
I take it, Dan, you may know the answer to this. Do we have to take a vote on such an enforceable agreement, or is that just something we write up? This is not a public hearing.
I don't know off the top of my head. I would think if we're granting an extension, it should be a public hearing and posted as such, but that's just my impression. That is,
so we might have to
on TV.
Yeah. So we might have to put you guys on the agenda for one of our upcoming meetings. But as long as everybody on the board shakes their head in the right way, we can sort of have the understanding here that 12 months, with a potential 6-month extension. But we'd like to see it in good working, functioning order as soon as possible and not utilized in the meantime.
Agreed. Yep. And we will put padlocks. We'll put a porta john outside. And, we really hope that the entitlement process goes a lot quicker. The sooner we can break ground, the better.
Okay, we do have one hand raised. Matt, go ahead and make your comment. I'm just going to.
If I may, what I was going to say is, Andrew, if you could document up exactly that, your plan and a request for 12 months with a 6-month extension, if we had that document exactly to vote on at a public hearing, that would make things very smooth. You've heard all of our questions and concerns. I think you can encapsulate it quickly in a short document that we could then all agree upon.
Great. Yep. I can put that all together. And once I know what the agenda date is, we'll come out and present it through Zoom. And I'll get the district manager going right away with pad locking all those doors up, and we'll order the porta potty.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you just want to put a pencil in September 28th for our next meeting? I think, is that the date? I think it is. Make sure. Sorry. Yeah, September 28th. Just pencil that in and we'll get back to you with a time once we get your letter.
Okay, perfect. Who should I send that letter to, Jim, or to somebody?
You can send it to Jim. Yep, that's fine.
Great.
Let me just see if this person who is called training with their hand up still has their hand up, wants to say anything. I'll ask them to unmute one more time and then we will move on. There we go. Hi.
Kevin,
State your name and address.
this is Brenda, actually.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, I've been here in the meeting. I apologize. I'm not sure how to work this Dell
Well,
laptop.
Your hand's up. Would you like me?
Hi, everyone. So I'm here. That's all.
Great. We'll move on to our next one. Brenda's our new administrative assistant. Great. So, okay. I think we all know what to do here. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Aaron. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Great. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to our running a little late. So sorry, Lee or Leah. I'm not sure you're going to clarify that for me. But we'll move on to our 750 Lee Botko, Food Service Director for Littleton Public Schools. Let me get you promoted.
Hi there.
Hi, is it Lee or Leah?
It's Leah, but
Leah. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay,
Um,
so
You can go ahead and share your screen if you're ready and give us some info on what you have going on.
I'm trying to. Okay, I apologize. I can't get my screen to share.
That's all right. We have the packet
Okay,
that you had sent over one participant. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's something on my end that I can fix with the screen share, but tell us a little bit about the food share program first, and then we'll move on to the composting.
sure. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was our sharing food table. Basically, it's a way for kids to reduce waste of products that they don't like to eat. We have a table set up. There's ice packs, so everything stays at a safe temperature. On the table, kids are allowed to put back unopened products, things like goldfish, unopened fruit, things like that. And then other children are allowed to come and grab them if they're still hungry or if they like that. And so at the end of the day, everything gets thrown away. We make sure to check it for proper temperatures, things like that. And the only kind of caveat is students with a food allergy or a special diet, we wouldn't really encourage them to use the share table because of cross-contamination concerns. So that is the share table. Do you have any questions on that, or do you want me to move to composting? Or
Let's just go around the board here. And Matt Wason, do you have any questions, comments?
I know the last time we had a packet that detailed out several pages of the process, and I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to come back here so we could all make sure questions were answered. Remind me again, because the one we have from today is kind of a one-pager that talks mostly about the food. Remind me again what the process is for milk.
Sure. Yes. So kids don't necessarily have to take a milk in the first place. We do, offer versus serve. But if there was a child who wanted to share their milk for whatever reason, we have ice packs right now. If that was a concern, I'd be more than happy to get like a small mini fridge, you know, that they can put it right in there and keep it at a better temperature. But like I said, there would never be a day that all 3 lunches, we have 3 lunch sessions. They're about, 40, 50 minutes each, maybe. And, sorry, there would be no way we would reserve the milk. It would get thrown away at the end of the lunches.
Yeah, I remember reading something about monitoring the temperature even during that 40 to 50 minutes. And so I just want to hear, I agree. If you say a small fridge would be easiest, that I agree that would probably be the easiest and safest way to make sure we're at the temperature control. So I like that idea.
Me too.
That's all I had.
Kevin Davis?
Yeah, I really like the idea of the addition of the mini fridge. I had a concern when the last time I started maintaining the temperature of the milk on simple ice packs. There's not enough contact unless you've got like ice water that the milk is sitting in to keep it at temperature. Other than that, I think it's a phenomenal idea and a way to reduce waste. If students want extra food, by all means.
Right. Great.
Gino Fredoloni? Oh, you're muted.
I agree with having a smaller refrigerator, yes.
Dan Kane?
So just for a little background, Leah, and let me know if I'm wrong. So the rationale for the table is that under the new federal guidelines for meals, that basically students have to take everything, or not everything, but have to take. They can't go, I really hate vegetables, so I'm not going to take any vegetables. Nope, you got to take vegetables. So it's really trying to manage the best we can that unintended food waste that may occur from, nope, I'm not eating my broccoli or apple or whatever it happens to be, that they have to take as part of the program. So certainly I'm all for, I'm so happy that, meals are going to be available to every single student, at least for another year. It's awesome. Certainly I hate seeing food having to go out the door because we're making them take it and then having it be wasted. So I think this is probably the best, most reasonable option to minimize that mandatory waste of making kids take stuff that they may not otherwise eat. I think it's a great idea. I agree with, fridges to maintain temperature just to be safe. But it's a great solution. It's unfortunate that we can't utilize that food in other ways. Are there options, since it's still packaged? I'm just curious, for donations, same way lots of restaurants will at the end of their day donate unused food portions, as long as it's still appropriate and safe to share, and yada yada. Is that an option for anything that might be left after meals, to be able to donate that to food pantries, those kind of pieces? I'm just curious if that's an option as well, to whatever's left after the sharing table that might at least still be usable by someone else.
Sure. Yeah. So packaged foods, I have donated to a few pantries around the area, Loaves and Fishes. I'm out by Gardner, so sometimes some of the stuff comes to the CAC over here too. So packaged things like that, yes. It's harder when it's pre-cooked like that. There are some group homes that'll take cooked food. So I'm still looking for those, but like everything else, there's concerns for temperature control, things like that. Who knows what you're getting? So it's been harder with that. So still working on that, but definitely looking into it. And the next part of this is we're working on a pilot program for composting. So hopefully that'll help a little bit there. We'll get there. Yeah.
Hey, that was an excellent segue.
Right?
By the way.
I just teed it up for her so she could just finish that in.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. So yeah, like you said too, they have to take either fruit or vegetable. So yeah, not all kids eat their fruits and vegetables.
So tell us a little bit about the composting.
Sure. So the composting, it's a actual company that comes in. They have their barrels, they have lids, they have bags. And they come once a week. They take the composting away. We would have a bin out with the kids, and then we would have a bin back in the kitchen. Basically, the kids would separate their, they say if it was once alive, it's compostable. So they would separate the food part and then throw away anything that wouldn't be able to be biodegradable. And back in the kitchen, it'd be great because we can just put all of our food scraps, the ends of celeries, things like that. That stuff gets heavy, it piles up. So that is what we're looking into. And they come once a week. Like I said, we put it on the back dock with our other trash, and they come, they take it away, they bring it back, and we just kind of maintain that the correct items are going in the composting bin.
That's a great idea. Great way to teach the kids too.
Right. Educational.
Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yes, actually. I think it's great. It's a local company. I think it's the one out of Groton, is it not? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. It's Black Earth Compost. Yeah.
Has the school system looked at compostable service items? So like the trays and things like that are at the schools, are those compostable as well? Because we could kill two birds with one stone here, reduce our poly footprint of stuff if it's on a polystyrene tray or whatever it is, and put it out onto a compostable service item.
Sure. So some of our to-go trays and things like that are compostable. It's definitely not everything. Last year, the supply chain was a mess, but hopefully this year we'll be able to find more of those things, because it does take certain trays, certain utensils, things like that. It does take a certain brand of those. So I'm looking into those, seeing how expensive they are and seeing if we can go that route, because I would love to. And I know the parents.
Yeah, the company I work for, we actually went to a fully compostable line of items and things like that, and it's saving the company money by going to the compostable item versus what we had before. And it's actually I work down in Bedford, so we're teaming up with a company that's out of Bedford doing the same kind of thing. So encouragement.
Great. Thank you.
Well, this was great, Leah. Thanks so much for keeping us posted, and let us know how we can help move things along.
Super. Great. Thank you.
Great idea.
Thanks.
Be safe.
All right.
Good luck. Hope it works.
Yeah, we hope it works.
Thank you.
That'll at least help a little bit with the fresh fruit that gets left over that a food pantry doesn't want. We can at least compost it at that point. So
Right. Go back somehow.
Well, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, great. Thanks. Good night.
So we'll move on now to our next topic, which is a moot point, our 8 o'clock. The 8 o'clock public hearing regarding the public health coordinator review. We had first interviews with 3 candidates. We had a second interview with 1 candidate, and it doesn't seem like it's the best fit. So we are going to repost the job in a couple different locations that might be better targeted for the type of folks we're looking for, like the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards job board. Instead of just putting it out there on Indeed, I think we'll get a different type of candidate, and we'll certainly keep the board posted as things progress. After that, we have a number of minutes to approve. We must approve April 13th, April 27th, and May 11th. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read them, but we'll entertain a motion.
So I actually went through and read through them. I don't see any, but I wasn't there, so I can't actually approve any of them. So
okay,
sorry.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from April 13th, April 27th, and May 11th, 2022.
Second.
Motion and a second, roll call vote. Kevin Davis,
Staying.
Dan Kane,
And Kane, yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Jeff Ferroni, yes.
Matt Wason,
Matt Wason, yes.
and Kevin Baker votes yes. And Kevin Davis, side note, are you working with Brenda on other minutes in the time between when you became clerk and when she sort of started?
So I have emailed her all of the minutes that I took, all the notes that I took from that. And I don't know, Brenda, have you received them yet? If not, I will resend them again tonight.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I do have, well, let me check my email. The ones that I did get were the ones that I posted in the packet tonight to be approved.
Okay.
I don't believe I have more. And I guess my part will be to, I believe, go back to the meetings and just type up the minutes.
So I will send along the stuff that I have worked on and put them in and my notes and things like that and send them across to you then again. No worries.
Okay. And I did take meeting minutes tonight. I'll probably go through them and still being new with everything. And I'm not sure why my screen isn't on. So I apologize for that. But
That's okay.
yeah, I'll definitely go back. Is it 1 week that they have to be posted or within 30 days that they have to be posted?
30 days.
Okay. And I will work on the others and just keeping current. I'll probably start with this since I started taking minutes while I was here and then just go back through the video again. And then of course, Jim's notes that he sent. And do I send it? I send it to the board for approval first or for review?
Yes, please send all the minutes once you've completed them to the entire board so they can read them.
Yep.
And then typically board members will get back to you with any comments, updates, changes.
Okay.
And then once those are completed, we can include them in a packet. Everybody can read through them and we can make a motion.
And then to approve and then put them on the agenda again, like we did this meeting.
And then, yeah, well, at that point, they'll have already been on the agenda, but then we could just post them online so people can reference them if they're looking for.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Sounds good.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
If I could ask a question, from those minutes, that April meeting, we were talking about what folks were going to have to do if they chose to or not to connect to the new sewer. And we left a lot of from my perspective, we left a lot of open questions as to what was the legality and where was that going to go. Do you know if we ever kind of got resolution or a clear understanding of how that process is going to play out, or do we need to revisit that?
I think it's in Corey's wheelhouse right now, and he was going to see if he could get some of those things changed. I think was the last we spoke to him because the way it was written, it just doesn't make sense.
Should we maybe ask if he could come to an October meeting for an update on that, and that'll maybe give him some time to figure anything out if he doesn't have all the answers yet?
Yeah, we can do that. I'll ask him about that. Correspondence. We did receive some correspondence from the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health, speaking about the sort of get together they're having tomorrow night at the office in Air to basically exchange ideas and experiences from the community. It's a social gathering. I think it's more of a feedback session than anything, but you're all invited. 4 o'clock to 5:30, September 15th. It's tomorrow. It's a Thursday. Gino, you gonna go?
I'll try first a little bit. Yeah.
All right.
5 o'clock, right?
4 o'clock. 4 to 5:30. Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, any board member comments, updates, anything you'd like to mention or discuss? All right. Then
At our last meeting, we had talked about a review of community health assessment process.
Yes.
Is that something we want to do? We want to hold off until following meeting?
So that's interesting. one of the, early tasks of the public health coordinator, and let's discuss this, would be to not implement, but basically conduct that needs assessment. In my mind, that's like the first task is, for them to find out what's going on. Do we want to get that ball rolling now and talk to folks at UMass and other resources that we might have that might be able to complete one of those needs assessments for us at low or no cost? Or do we want to put that on our new public health coordinator right from the get-go, or do we want to give them something to work with? I guess is the question. I'd rather get it started sooner than later.
If I may, I would agree. Why not get something started now? We don't know how much longer it will take to get somebody hired and in place.
Right.
And I agree that's an early priority for them. But if we get 3 months of pre-work done before they're ready, that's 3 months a head start.
Is everyone familiar with what a community health assessment looks like?
No. Do you have one to share?
I'm happy to give you my 10-slide version as quickly as I can.
All right.
If you'd like.
Yeah, please.
And I will do my best on this one, that if I was teaching this at school, this would be a couple of weeks worth of content, but we will do our best. All right. The universal question is, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So community health assessment is actually a formal structure. Basically comes out of the 10 essentials for public health services, which comes out of the National Association of County and City Health Officers. And most of these things are things that the Board of Health does anyway. Certainly we do even as a small municipality, but not necessarily, we don't necessarily address all of them, but things we certainly should be doing. Assess and monitor population health status. How is our community health-wise? Identify the risks and address them. Communicate information effectively about all our risks and mitigation strategies, as well as prevention measures and injury prevention, those pieces. Work on building partnerships, which certainly I think we've tried to do through COVID, and we've identified some of the bumps in our teamwork and community-wide process, but I think we've also, as a result of that, helped identify and started to build some of those bridges that haven't really existed as strongly in the past. Policies, plans, and laws impact health. Building regulations, that's part of our scope. Utilizing our authority and legal structure to make those things happen. Effective system to make sure equitable access to individual services and care and healthy. We as a local board doesn't really address, build, and support a diverse and skilled public health workforce, certainly in our department with being so small. But certainly could at some point in the future, you never know. Identifying how we're doing through benchmarking, research, and quality improvement process, and making sure we have an organizational infrastructure that's going to be able to be successful and functioning. So looking at the responsibilities of public health agencies in the United States, that's really kind of where we get to our community health assessment. How do we know if we're doing any of those things, all of those things, and how well we're doing them? So we need to figure out what our needs are. Comprehensive assessment, key health needs, using systematic, comprehensive data collection and analysis. This can be primary using focus groups and direct outreach. This can be secondary data using CDC, Mass DPH, hospital data, even as simply as census data and Medicare, Medicaid services data. Secondary data pull in as well of what our current status is. And then we utilize that information to start coming up with a plan and make sure we're effective. So certainly we are in no place ready for this yet. If our public health department would like to be accredited, having a community health assessment and an implementation plan to address it is part of the best practices, and that will be part of our accreditation standard. But we are many, many years away from that, just to be honest. And that's okay. It can be certainly a goal, but that's going to be a long-term goal. Cases we already talked about. I don't hit all of them, but it's really identifying what we're doing well, what we're not doing well and can do better, what areas we are not taking action on. And certainly those places, I always use the example of what's real and what's perceived. as far as community health needs. Oh, there's so many car accidents at this intersection because there's been 3 in a week. Now, it could have been there's been no car accidents there in 5 years, but there were 3 in a week for who knows what reason. Suddenly it's a crisis. We need to do something and address that issue. Community health assessment is really looking at, so we're not just responding to, one situation. We're actually identifying what our needs are across the board and prioritizing and how do we address them. Probably the biggest piece for all of this with doing community health assessment is that it is not one person. This is a community-wide process. We're looking at, again, that focus group kind of pieces, talking to community members and talking to organizations who either are in town, who are governmental, non-governmental, or provide services in town. So, certainly as a pick off the top of my head list here in Littleton, this would be working with the school department and looking at their student population and their staff population, utilizing their resources, elder human services, parks and rec, the nursing home, working with Emerson and Neshoba hospitals to look at what kind of patients, what their issues are, what their challenges are as they provide services, working with our public health nurses, both internal within the department, within the town, and outside who may provide services, hospice care, working with the police department, the fire department for injury prevention and those patterns, DEP and EPA looking at environmental concerns, environmental hazards that we may not have identified. It really is looking at both simple things like how many cases of something do we have in town, but also much, much bigger than that. And as both a way of gathering data, gathering buy-in, but also building up those bridges to how do we most effectively manage these challenges as they come forward, because very few of these are ever in a silo. We've talked about it through COVID that, what happens in the school is going to be happening in the community within a week. It's just how it is. That's the canary in the coal mine in some ways, is that you have lots of people in one place. That's where we're going to see things before it makes it every place else. This is one of those times we build those bridges, we identify things early, or recognize that what we may think is a concern isn't necessarily a concern when we actually talk to the people involved. The improvement plan is what we do with all this data. We have all this great information. We have all these great connections. We've started to build that community of where our priorities are as a community, and then let's figure out what we want to do with it. Looking at both short-term and long-term needs and prioritizing them, and how do we have for resources and what can we most effectively manage. We may spend 5 months to address a very, very small risk that impacts very few. We may spend, a week, but be able to come up with a very effective plan that makes a huge difference. Use vaccinations. Running a vaccination clinic is challenging, but not overwhelming for someone who's done it before. And that makes a huge impact with relatively a reasonable amount of work compared to trying to do air quality analysis, mitigation strategies, also very, very important, but perhaps our resources aren't able to address that risk at the time being. So really recognizing what our resources are, what the highest impact for the lowest resource cost, and then how do we really prioritize. To give you guys an idea, an effective or a thorough community health assessment usually takes anywhere from 6 to 9 months to complete, from start of process to report generation. It's a long process with lots of players and lots of moving pieces, and certainly having a staffer who is committed to driving the process is going to be incredibly valuable. Certainly, if we can find someone outside who can help lead it for us, that'd be great. I think having a board member try to do this would be challenging, only because of the time commitment involved. Certainly for many of the pieces, business hours may be challenging, where a professional staffer might be able to handle this a little bit more effectively, as well as certainly for a new member in that position, challenging to jump in to try to lead one. However, an incredibly powerful way for them to start building these bridges and communications and networking that they're going to need to be successful in our community if they're coming from outside. 2 most common frameworks, really the framework that's most likely, but if we are looking outside, we'll figure out what folks would most likely prefer to use. CDC and the National Association of Health Officers, health officials really look at using the MAP model, mobilization for action through planning and partnerships, as their generic framework for a community-wide assessment. And then using the PACE EH for environmental specific health concerns within a community. Don't need to go into all of it, but really just there are existing frameworks. I'm going to Bob to give you guys a sense of what it looks like. And I can share this slide set out with some links, but I'm going to use the Massachusetts Public Health Network report from a couple of years ago, from 2014 now, only because it's the one that is, well, obviously much bigger than a Littleton specific. It is probably the most geographically and socioeconomically similar to us, although it's covering their entire area. Massachusetts is basically the Neshoba Associated Boards of Health, but for slightly further west. So let me see if I can pull up. I'll stop sharing for a second.
One of the comments, Kevin Baker, would be to ask that the links that are here for people that are online looking at this later, that we provide these links in the description of the YouTube video that gets put up, so that people don't have to like write it down and try to type it in, because that's a horrific option. By the by.
Got it.
It also
Copy
gets
and paste
into,
all that.
yeah. It also gets into 508 compliance that we have to kind of do. So.
All right. So their report, if you can see, my community health assessment of Massachusetts Public Health Network, isn't the prettiest. The one out of MGH's community health improvement program is unsurprisingly graphically very attractive to look at, while providing certainly challenging information. To give you a sense, this is 200 pages long. It looks at demographics, socioeconomics, substance abuse and mental health status for their communities, suicide, weight, mortality, chronic diseases, acute diseases, injury and violence prevention, in a summary. It is looking at basically every dynamic, every dimension of health in the community. It's big and involved. Not necessarily complex, but a large volume to really look at. So once that data is collected, the real work kind of really begins of going, okay, what do we do with all this data now? Where are our true risks? What are our benchmarks? What are our true risks and opportunities to mitigate and make these things better? Is kind of a big fat part of that process. And where, again, back to our resources, our community teams, of where we could really make the biggest differences with what we have for resources. It's a big process. So I'm all for getting in there and getting data, because I do not know. Certainly the hospitals are required to do community health assessments for their catchment areas under DPH and IRS rules. I have not seen those either from Emerson or from Neshoba that I was able to find. They may be out there. I just couldn't find them when I did my search. But obviously those are going to be based on their catchment areas and their service, not necessarily our community. I do not know if, and I'm unfortunately Jim's not here tonight, if Neshoba has done a similar report, a similar assessment for the Neshoba catchment area. I simply don't know. I would, as we've talked about this in the past, I would have hoped he would have stepped up and said, "Oh, we do that every 3 to 5 years, as recommended by best practice from the national associations." But I don't know. I can't speak to whether he has or not, but certainly something we may want to look at and see if that is actually a starting point that we may be able to utilize as well. See what's been done in the past and if there's been an improvement plan in place. I simply, again, don't know. I do not know what our resources. I have not done the outreach piece for what our resources are for public agencies who might be able to assist us, whether that's a UMass Lowell, UMass Amherst, someone else. I don't know. I have not done that piece of it.
Okay.
To see what our resources are for an external agency.
Okay.
The level of involvement and complexity is, I can't imagine that would be cost-free. but it certainly might be.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dan. That was enlightening and exciting, and
Wasn't really that exciting.
it was kind of exciting.
Very informative.
Yeah. So let me check with Jim to see if there's a CHA that's been performed in the region. And we'll take it from there. I have a contact at a board of health locally that did mention a resource at UMass. So I'll try and have her connect me with them, and I'll report back to you guys.
And then have any other boards of health that are surrounding us done one of these recently that we could maybe glean?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Beg and borrow.
Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I would love to get the ball rolling on that. So if and when we do hire a public health coordinator, they have something to read.
To learn.
Awesome. Anyone else have an update or comment, question?
Well, since our last meeting, I do recall, I think we have a new COVID-19 booster shot out there.
That's right. Yeah, I did a PSA. Did you see it?
I did.
I know Kevin saw it. Yeah. I did a PSA. Kirby was nice enough to set it up like super quickly with Liz from EHS. And she described what the new boosters are, why people should get them, where they can get them, and where they can get questions answered. And we tried to time that with the vaccination clinic that was happening at the high school on September 7th. And we also mentioned the dates upcoming, maybe 24th and October 7th. I should know these dates, but I don't off the top of my head. But anyway, we promoted those dates, and I think I'll talk with Kirby about maybe doing an updated one as we get closer to. But yeah, I had no ill effects from my vaccination with the new one. Everything's good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking to get mine in another week or so to try to. It's been 4 months since my COVID-19 infection, so I'll go take care of that.
So the next bus is October 26th from 5 to 7 p.m. I'm not sure if you can actually sign up yet or if that's pushed out. But I would also tell people that you do not need to wait for the bus. They are actually pretty available from what I can tell at local pharmacies. Just for fun, I got my booster and my flu shot on the same day. So I survived. You can too. So they are available. Look for local pharmacies and they can take care of you. Don't want to wait till October 26th.
And also, I called up Air Family Pharmacy, which is a little family pharmacy over there on 111 in Air. If you can't find an appointment at your local CVS, Walgreens, yada, 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 they do have a supply that has come in. So it's another place to go get another shot or another vaccination, I should say.
And we did post the information about the upcoming, the Vax bus or the Vaccinate RX clinic hosted at the Littleton Public Schools. And we also posted the information about the flu clinic schedule for 2022-23. And it's all in the news and announcements section in the top right-hand corner of the Board of Health page. So we are doing our best to keep the community informed on these things. If no one else has anything, we can.
Thank you.
Matt has something.
So since our last meeting, we had a joint meeting with the school committee.
Yes.
Would we like to provide an update or talk about what our next steps are?
Yes. Go ahead.
Very well. So I believe it was Kevin and myself at a joint meeting. Good conversation about our data tools that we're using and starting to kind of formulate for planning purposes and documents to lean on. I think the takeaways I had is that obviously the CDC has set guidance for schools and activity institutions, and Massachusetts has adopted most of that, and then Littleton Public Schools has thus adopted most of that. It's kind of a waterfall down from the CDC guidance. There's obviously no testing that is going to be going on a mandatory basis. No tests are out there, so we do not get that data anymore. We're not going to be able to monitor that with our data dashboard. On the data front, I get the sense that they are not intending to really regularly monitor data or put something out to us or to the community or to themselves. I'm not sure. I think they're going to take that away and discuss further as to what they might look into. I think we should continue to explore options of what data we might be able to get access to monitor, just so that we can see any blip coming on the radar. That was a really valuable line to have on our tool over the last year. So it'd be great to have something as a substitute, knowing it's not going to be as good as that.
I think it was just the attendance data.
Right. That could be a good signal if we could just at least monitor the attendance data. If you start to see a lot of kids not going to school, that's hopefully a cause to start asking some questions. Along the same lines, I mean, assuredly they're going to watch their staffing data, so that if a bunch of teachers start going out, that's going to be obviously cause for alarm. And then beyond that, I think I got the sense they're just relying on the guidance to say, which is pretty loose. It's, even if a child is potentially positive, if they're asymptomatic, it's a lot of just we suggest or we would recommend. And that gives me a little concern, just because there's not a lot of strong language anywhere. It's not a Littleton Public School thing. It's from here all the way up the chain. What I would say is at the CDC level, their language is, if your community gets into the orange, not red, the green, yellow, orange, then at that point, the CDC is strongly recommending that people should be wearing masks. So I think we should at least have our eyes open to that and be looking to say, we need to keep monitoring that. And by the way, it's green today. But if that signal that the CDC has assembled, and it is on our dashboard, if that signal turns dark orange, I would say we should be having a conversation as soon as possible about what we're going to do about masks in the community.
So two things.
Yeah.
On our next agenda, we'll have the ID decision support tool.
Yeah.
We'll go over that with current data, and then the guide. Were there any updates to that post school committee meeting response guide?
I have a few notes. There's some minor changes that I'll make, but I can have that ready for the next meeting, no problem.
Okay, and then the communication piece of it, we should discuss as a board, maybe at our next meeting.
That sounds good.
Yeah, try and really firm that up.
So in relation to the little CDC guide, on a slightly nerdy level, me being a computer scientist, the CDC has added the ability to add a widget to your website to look at the community level. So one of the things I think we ought to do is potentially integrate that into the Board of Health's website, so that way we can get that widget on there automatically, so we don't have to say, hey, go to this website. It automatically just appears on the website.
Could you email that to me?
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to say I have follow up with Nancy to do already, so please send that along and I'll
Will do.
tack it on.
All right, it's almost my bedtime. Can someone make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn. Nice to see you guys. You did a good job.
I'll second that. Roll call vote. Gino Fratelloni,
Gino, yes.
Dan Kane,
Dan Kane, yes.
Kevin Davis.
Yes.
Tired. Matt Waston,
Outweighs them, yes.
And Kevin Baker, yes. Thank you guys very much.
Thank
Great
you.
work. Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
Yep. See you soon. Bye-bye.